there, Bristles. So this has been a difficult video to make for a multitude of reasons. Partly because it's a quite personal video and demands a certain level of vulnerability. And also it's not the video I had initially intended to make, so that's a bit of a sidetrack. So it's a couple of weeks since I made a video, and the one I was making was my wonderful partner for my birthday got me this box set, which you know, it's fantastic. It's got these Imperial guys in it, which I may paint for my Black Templars, or I may convert for some kind of fantasy skirmish game, maybe Mordheim or something. It's also got the little corn folk who, when they grow up, they want to be bloodletters, which is pretty cute. But the main reason I wanted it, and the main reason my partner got me it because she knew this, was for the statue. Why a statue? Well, because as soon as I saw the statue when it was first released for the Sisters of Battle, I thought I wanted to convert that to be a Count as Demon Prince for Dark Oath in the stylings of a pagan goddess. So that's how that's looking there. And I was in the middle of editing that video and I realised I wasn't enjoying it and I wasn't having any fun. And I was trying to figure out why, and I realised that it was because I was rushing the project to get it done in a succinct manner so that it would be a shorter video and be out in a timely manner on a schedule. And that's not usually how I like to work. So it was sucking all the fun out of it, and I was compromising the actual vision that I had for the model in order to produce the video. So that was making me feel really crappy about myself. And on top of that, the past few weeks I've just been having a really bad time mentally, and my mental health has been poor, and I've been struggling with my anxiety. So I mean, this in itself could be the topic of the video, about, you know, engaging in projects that you're passionate about and not compromising on what brings you joy in hobby. I think that's something important, and that's also not the video that I wanted to make today, strangely enough. So maybe I'll revisit this at another time, because the video I wanted to make today, that anxiety reminded me of a video that I had planned about a year ago that I thought might be helpful for other people. So how does anxiety tie into what I want to talk about? Well, last year I went to my first ever wargaming tournament, and it's something that I was very anxious about, and something that I know a lot of other people would be anxious about, because there's a negative perception of wargaming tournaments. So, but also you might be interested in going, so should you go? And that's the video that I wanted to make, based on my experience at a wargaming tournament as a filthy casual. Do I recommend other people who are not necessarily, who don't necessarily see themselves usually as a competitive gamer? Should you go? The short answer is yes, 100%. I had fun, and I think you will too. Now, something that makes it a little bit more complicated is I am neurodivergent, and I struggle with social anxiety a lot. So that makes things a little bit more complicated, and maybe that resonates with some of you, which wouldn't surprise me. It's not uncommon, especially in our hobby with our special interest. So where to start? Well, I guess with what concerns you might have regarding attending your first ever wargaming tournament. So first of all, I think one thing to address is that there is a negative perception and negative discussion online about tournament goers and tournaments in general, that they are a place where dreams go to die and everyone is super serious and win at all costs at the expense of fun. And to be honest, I was of a similar mindset, which was reinforced by some personal experiences back in 6th and 7th edition of 40k with some individuals in the Warhammer store or a local game club who are lovely people, just to preface that. But for a pickup game, they only had at the store with them that day their tournament list, which was made clear to me, but naively didn't mean much to me beforehand. And then they'd pull out their Elder Army, which at the time was very overpowered, and annihilated me turn 1, so that left a bad taste in my mouth regarding tournaments. And that reinforced what I had been reading online. So what changed and what made me reconsider possibly wanting to go to a tournament? Well, watching some counterpoints such as the Honest Wargamers videos and the Square Based podcast, where they advocate for tournaments being a place where people who are, yes, they are good at the game and they want to win, but overall the priority is people who have a shared interest and are enthusiastic about the same thing, are going to play some games together, to have fun and to make friends maybe. Hearing this a lot, I decided, and also because I wanted to get a few more games in than I ordinarily would in a year, which is something that I wanted to do last year, was to play more games. So with all that in mind, I decided it was a good time to try my first ever wargaming tournament. And specifically I chose the one hosted by the Honest Wargamer in the TSN Arena in Nottingham. My reason for making this decision, because I reasoned that if I wanted to try and guarantee that my entry point to tournament gaming would be as positive as I possibly could have, then surely the people who advocate for this positive setting, hosting a tournament, would be the best opportunity to have a positive experience. I'm going to keep it short. Yes, that was the correct choice on my part, I think. I'm not saying that other events won't have been the same, but I didn't know them, and somebody who, neurodivergent, things that are unfamiliar are scary and intimidating. And even though another concern, meeting new people, being neurodivergent and socially anxious, is very daunting. Meeting a new person is daunting. Even socializing with people that you know can be intimidating and awkward. So going to a wargaming tournament where you're going to be meeting a lot of different people, and with the assumption that they're going to be, if you have no prior experience, the assumption that they're going to be of a higher standard of player, there's a lot there that can be discouraging. Now, regarding those other people, everybody that I met at this tournament were lovely. They were very welcoming. They were very understanding. They were very patient. Not that I was taking egregious amounts of time, but it was a new experience, so I'm obviously not all that proficient in it yet. For the part of the other individuals, in terms of how scary it might be meeting new people, they were fine. They made it as easy an experience as possible for me as they could, without trying, because they don't know anything about me. They just showed up as themselves and to have a good time. With that said, me personally, I was quite reserved and didn't quite come out of my shell. I don't think I put my most authentic self out there, and not because I wanted to portray a false version of myself, just because I was uncomfortable and nervous and struggle with that kind of thing. So the point wasn't to deceive anybody. It was just because I was uncomfortable, and that's something that would only be helped and would only change if I continued to go to events. On that side, your fears are legitimate, but we can get past them. Another thing that might be of concern is that the first day was quite long. It was 3 games, and you know, there's breaks in between, there's drinks and snacks provided, there was dinner after the first day. It was great. The organization was great, the venue was great, the tables were fantastic, the terrain was great. There was comfy chairs for everybody. But by the time I was starting my third game, I was quite overwhelmed and overstimulated, and mentally I was on the verge of just checking out. On top of meeting loads of new people, you're engaging in a complex rule set, which, you know, takes a lot of mental energy. Was it worth it? Yes, the engagement and the games were fun, and it was worth the trade-off for that kind of overstimulation and mental fatigue. I think going forward, if I were to continue doing it, that would be the problem, or that being a problem would be alleviated over time, and it would be something that I would be able to deal with easier going forward. So exposure therapy, I guess. So obviously not everybody's the same, so different people's mileage may vary. Some people could adjust far quicker and may not be as overstimulated quite so easily, but I'm slightly reclusive, so for me personally, that's going to take a little bit of work on my part. That's nothing to do with the other people at that in attendance. It's nothing to do with the organisers or with tournaments in general. That's a personal struggle that I will have to tackle, and I'm sure there are plenty of you who might be able to relate with that. Another negative point that people often make about tournament gaming is that, oh, they don't really care about their army, they just grab the strongest thing and like buy things second hand because they don't have to work on them, and they just grab the powerful thing and play with that. From my experience in this situation, that's a complete lie. I know some people do that in other game systems, but what I saw at this tournament was people who had collected and modelled and painted their armies with passion and care and enthusiasm, and the level of hobby on display was fantastic. Probably my favourite part about attending a wargaming tournament is getting to see people's armies. And yes, you can see models online, but there's nothing quite like seeing an army set up and displayed in real life. And everybody's was so different, and it was wonderful to see. On that point, I put a lot of effort into painting and modelling, converting my army. As a result, I shaped my list around some of the models that I had made because I really wanted to use them, and as such did not bring the most optimal list. But on the upside, my hard work paid off, and I did win coolest army as voted by the other players, so that was very rewarding for me personally, and something that I was really happy with and made my day and made it really worthwhile, especially after the effort I put in. But there were plenty of other armies there that were fantastic, and I fully expected they would have won. So there you go. You'll see, fantastic hobby. That's another positive. A concern you might have is if you're not a regular player or you've never been to a tournament, is that you might not be at a skill level that would be welcome. And that was something that I was concerned about, especially since I didn't actually play any practice games beforehand, and my first ever games of the old world were in the tournament. Had I played a game beforehand, I would have realised very quickly that my list was far beyond optimal. That's not to say it was complete garbage. I had some units that I had happened to build quite well and performed well, but some that really underperformed. And that concern of not being good enough, that it's irrelevant. There was people there of all different levels of skill set and different levels of experience, and we seemed to be matched up, especially as the tournament went on, appropriately. And I never, even though I lost every game, I think I drew one I nearly won one of them, but it was close and I did lose in the end. Even though I lost every game, I didn't feel bad about it because it wasn't a complete stomping, and there were fun engagements and stories being told on the tabletop throughout each game. So if you're concerned about your skill level, don't be. There's a variety of skill levels present. To summarize, should you go to a wargaming tournament? As I said, yes. My personal experience summed up, I got a collection ready for tabletop, done for the first time in a very long time, that is playable. I met some great people who I would happily engage with again. I played really fun games that I never once felt like I was completely being outclassed or destroyed. I saw excellent hobby and fantastic armies, and I had a fun time, and nobody was bad, and I would do it again. Was I overstimulated and exhausted? Yes. Did I miss my family, my partner and my children? Yes, absolutely. I lost every game, I won coolest army, but had friendly experiences with everybody. So I think overall that is a positive and something to consider. Let me know down in the comments if you are considering going to your first wargaming tournament, or let me know your wargaming tournament experiences or your opinions on the subject. That's all I have to say, I guess. I hope it was insightful. I hope it was helpful. It took me a while to get this video done because in previous iterations I got a bit too deep into, mental health and anxiety, and I thought maybe it was a little bit overwhelming and a bit too personal. But anyway, hope you liked the video. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification button. I have a Patreon. I am working on some small bits to offer to patrons in the future. I'm not sure what kind of timescale they're on because I have a lot going on at the moment, but hopefully soon. But yeah, subscribe so you can see the next video. Bye.